Farrant. Welcome to my webinar today where I'm going to be chatting through practical tips on how to optimize your bedroom for sleep. This is something I've taught a little bit about in my mastermind, and I'm really excited just to share a couple of practical tips and hacks that you can use to really change your bedroom, change the environment in which you sleep. You want to create deeper sleep. We want to create longer periods of deeper sleep because that is where we recover. That is where we see the deepest amount of healing, and that is where we are able to grow and regenerate. So cellular regrowth, also a filing from the day really happens when we sleep deeply. So a lot of stuff that we move through in the day that we weren't able to pay attention to, or trauma or anything that happens, gets filed really beautifully at night. I really went into a cycle of believing that we needed these 8-9 perfect hours of sleep at night. And if anything interrupted us, it would be a disaster, and you could never catch up on sleep, and you had to prioritize sleep above all things. But in actual fact, we're humans, and a little bit like food and everything else that I teach through my mastermind, that 80-20 rule is really, really important. There'll be some nights you go to bed later than others. People do advocate for a rhythm, a routine, especially for children, where you go to bed at the same time every night, inclusive of weekends. But there are times, there are times where things happen in the evenings, and or you're up at night, or that's okay. What we want to do is create as much resilience as we possibly can. And the way in which we're going to do that today is by me giving you a couple of practical tips when it comes to sleep, and how the environment in which you sleep can have a really big impact on your sleep in itself. Then we will roll that over quickly to children, because as parents, I don't think we understand enough how we can impact our child's sleep by taking away things that we think they need that they absolutely don't. I'm going to be running through child baby monitors. I'm going to be running through blue lights, night lights, darkness, noise, etc., and I'm just giving you a little insight into that. So let's start first and foremost with our own master bedroom. It's always important to feel a deep connection to your bedroom, to feel at home in your bedroom, to feel happy in your bedroom. The first thing that you can do when you try to affect change in your bedroom for the best in the environment is look at the air quality. So many people tell me, because they live in a cold country or an overly hot country, so say like Dubai or the UK, the two places that I live between, that they don't open their windows. Why? Because it's too cold or it's too hot. The number one bedroom hack that you could possibly ever do is to open your windows at least once a day and get a fresh flow of air through the room. So even if it's just for 10 minutes, there's humidity, there's cold, there's a myriad of different things that we deal with. Some people are allergic to pollen at heightened levels, but opening up fresh air into your bedroom will be hugely beneficial to everyone involved. First and foremost, it allows for you to notice where there is air that is unfresh. So things like mold and that might become more apparent. And also you will, see things like plants and living things in your bedroom thrive more when you have fresh through flow of air. I always advocate, if you're in colder environments, to sleep with the windows open, because it is really, really, really comforting to have cold air over you at night, especially if you're under a light duvet or you are warm in yourselves. When it comes to a place like Dubai at night now, with the temperatures up to 37, 38, 40, 42 the other day, 43, it's very difficult to sleep in a very, very humid environment. And so you do tend to sleep under air conditioning. So I also want to touch a little bit on AC units, if you're using them both in the UK and Dubai, how to take good care of them, how to know when they need maintenance, repair and cleaning, and what type of cleaning to look at in order to avoid mold or contaminants in the AC, which gets circulated in the room and then affects our resilience and our health and our sleep. So if we begin with your bed, most people have one big, large bed in a master bedroom. Proximity of the bed in the bedroom can be fairly important. You always want your bed backed up against a wall, and you want to feel comfortable in the way in which you've chosen it. There are things like feng shui and other things you can work on. I'm not at all versed in any of that kind of stuff, but I do feel like if you're happy with where your bed sits, you've got a lovely view, you've got a nice line of sight, and your bed is backed up against a wall, even if that wall is built into the middle of your room to semi-split up the room, it's really quite nice. For people that are extremely sensitive and that are highly allergic, things like headboards, and that can be a bit of a mission for people to get their heads around. We've got a long, big headboard that we had built in across the whole back of our master bedroom. And I looked at materials to get that covered, organic, eco, natural materials. And it's very, very difficult to find covering upholstery material that's durable, that doesn't wear, that doesn't stain, etc., that's also natural and eco. But we're quite a resilient family, because everything that we do, all the way from our food to the way we wash our clothes, to the makeup that I don't use, to the way my husband does skincare and stuff, we weren't affected at all by having this upholstery at the base of our head. But what I would do is, when I had that thing covered, I let it off gas for 3 to 4 days in the factory where it was built, We just let it sit in the fresh air, unwrapped in plastic, etc., so that by the time it came to us, most of the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, had come off of that. If you're very allergic and you struggle with your head up against a headboard, you could look at things like rattan, wood, or homemade designed headboards. There's so many amazing DIY things that you could do. When it comes to the actual bed, I get asked over and over again about mattresses. If you're in the market for a new mattress, or if you know your mattress is worn, or if you're unhappy with your mattress, then, you know, if you're thinking about it, it's likely time for a change. All the research that I've done around mattresses has led me to two conclusions. It's really important that if you can, and you're buying a new mattress, that you do try and avoid sprung mattresses. Why? Because we do live in a world now where signal bounces from one 5G tower to another, and that's just the way it is. And also we sleep with cell phone radiation. Some people have routers in their bedroom. If you can remove a Wi-Fi router from your bedroom, then please do. Keep the routers outside of the bedroom, and let the Wi-Fi signal come in. And I've always spoken about it, turn the routers off at night. But because there are signals connecting both inside of our house and then externally through 5G and 3G towers, you know, your bed can actually act as a conductor of electricity. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that springs are metal and that metal conducts electricity. When I tried to do my live 10 minutes ago when they were still drilling upstairs, I also spoke a little bit about women and underwire bras. It's a kind of the same thing with the conduction of electricity. And then people would kind of, I suppose they would laugh and say, well, you wear silver jewelry, or you have metal this, or you have metal that. But the underwire bra thing maybe goes a step further in that it's actually unhealthy for the glands of the mammary glands and the actual boob. It creates more drag than it should lift. And basically changing to just soft sports bras or braless has been really impactful for me, but that's outside kind of the bedroom. So if you're looking to buy a mattress, I was recommending anything organic. There's an amazing company called Demco that we bought our current mattress from. And then we went down the route about 8 years ago, I think it was, when my first son was 3 and I wanted to buy a big new natural mattress for him, where I bought him one of those roll up in a bag ones. They all have a different name, like Emma, and they all come from the same factory as far as I'm aware. There's a myriad of them in England, and they just arrive in a big roll up and you unpack it and there's no springs and it's like a latex, layers of foam, memory foam, etc. Yes, they are quite affordable, and yes, they are quite comfortable, and yes, they don't have any springs, but they do off-gas. They are very, very chemical rich. So what we did after I realizing that I'd done that, and 8 years ago, there weren't really many other options, and I'll tell you now what the kind of winning prize is, since there's been developments in the market of mattresses, is I left that mattress completely uncovered because it'll come in a plastic film. And the minute you rip that plastic off, you will start to smell all the chemicals from the glues and the layers and the memory foam, and the outer covering and the stitching and all that kind of stuff. And we left that mattress with all the loft windows open in our home in Fulham for 3 to 4 days. And the children slept on a mattress, on a floor, a spare mattress in my bedroom, whilst we let that kind of off gas. And we still have that mattress and it's fine today. So, you know, I'm very much a thrifter, and I'm very much 80-20. I don't want people to now feel like you have to chuck out every mattress in your house and buy everything new and start all over again. In actual fact, stuff that has been worn and used for a long period of time has gone through that period of off-gassing, as we call it, and so is more healthy than something new in many instances. But since there's been huge development in the market for mattresses, I would highly advise, and pillows alike, latex. It comes from the natural, it's rubber from the natural rubber tree. It's non-toxic, and it's super, super highly functional. And you can get latex in certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Like firmnesses, a very firm mattress to a very soft mattress. But ideally, if you think to back in the day, sleeping on the floor and stuff like that, we want to really accommodate almost as hard a bed as we possibly can for spinal alignment and for sleep. So have a think about that, removing springs in your mattresses and looking at latex as an option. You can DM me or comment below if you want to know anything more. Latex pillows are also absolutely fantastic because they fill that gap between the neck. And ideally, we want to be sleeping on our backs if we most possibly can, because it's the most natural way as a human, where the spine stays in alignment, preferably with something propped under your knees. You can get a latex bolster or another latex pillow. And I learned that from a chiropractor in Fulham, and it really did change my life. Even if you do roll onto your side when you sleep at night, a pillow between the knees, either on the side or whilst you're lying on your back, makes remarkable difference. I was then going to chat about clutter in our bedside tables. I did an amazing course with an Italian man called, or Spanish I think he is, Antonio Mol, and he studied for 10 years, the subconscious mind and thoughts, and how things affect our subconscious mind when we sleep. And in actual fact, I went and through my mastermind last year, taught really, really in depth about clutter, books, journals, things on our bedside table, and the impact it can have on you when you sleep. People don't really want to understand. If you've listened to my podcast, listen to my testimony, listen to how I talk about spirituality and the things I've experienced recently, that objects can hold a lot of spiritual energy, and especially books that have complicated themes, or whatever it might be, journals that have a splurging of emotion, and then we don't really want these things within 1 to 2 meters of us when we sleep at night. I'm not really here to explain why, but I do know for a fact it makes a big, big difference. So if your bedside table is stuffed full of journals and notes and it's messy and cluttered, you and your husband, your partner, please try as best you can to remove that stuff out to a library or bookshelf or something like that. Literally next to my bed is my Bible. I've spoken about what happened to me since I picked up the Bible again and went very wayward after very harrowing experiences, which is all in my podcast, if you'd like to have a listen. And that is it. A cup of water, which we filter and ionize every night. We don't leave it there day after day after day, because water has memory and water has emotion. If you remember the experiment done by Emoto, where he spoke to water, and water picks up a lot of frequency and energy. So that is it. And my bedside drawer is otherwise clean and clear. There's nothing on it. If we read books at night, which my children and I do, and we're going through the children's Bible, I put that fairly far away on the other side of the room before we sleep. Again, I don't feel like, I'm not a scientific person. I'm not a scientist. And I'm not here to give statistics or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I know, how I've made change, and how I've come to see that these things do have a remarkable impact on our lives. The same would go for your children. You don't want them sleeping next to a whole pile of clutter. You want next to their beds 100% clear. Now I'm going to move on to something a little bit more scientific, which is bedside lights and gadgets on the bedside table. So a lot of us might have, alarm clocks that shine blue at night, or a myriad of different things plugged in next to our heads. The baby might have a night light and a monitor, and so on and so on and so on. I learned really early on in life that there is such a thing as junk electricity, like there is such a thing as junk light. I explained this really in depth on my mastermind, which I'm busy redoing and shortening down, because last year I taught my mastermind for 12 months and I was shattered. So I'm trying to simplify it down into a 3-week course where you can build on where you want to learn more, but all the basics come across to you in 3 weeks. Obviously, it will be nowhere near as what I went through with the amazing 10 people that I did my mastermind with last year, but you'll get the gist. So junk light, a perfect example is the good old days of offices where there are those slatted lights with the big white squares, very bright white light that shines down on you all day. It makes you feel tired. It gives you brain fog. It affects the resilience in our body. It lowers our immunity. There is scientific proof around exposure to junk light for long periods of time, especially during the day when we should be exposed to the natural light from the sun. So another hack is, if you work or have an office, to sit near to a window, even if you're in England and the sun doesn't shine all that often, because you want that natural light upon you. And the same would go for your bedroom. You want natural sunlight shining on your sheets and on your linen, because it is so highly antibacterial. But when it comes to nightside lights and monitors, you want to remove as much as you possibly can. I'll never forget, in England, we had 2 little built-in side lights that hung down next to our bed, and they were switched on at the mains. And when they were on, they always had a when there's poor wiring in a house, that is what we call junk electricity. And like junk light, there are scientific proof, as well as readers that can read the electromagnetic frequency that comes off of poor wiring, and the impact that has on the body that can be akin to 5G, to cell phone radiation, to stuff like that. The same would go for if you're plugging your mobile phone in right next to your ear and you hear that, that is detrimental to your body. That is letting off a frequency. And I've had 2 people, amazing people, Valentina and Sarah, who are both absolutely fantastic in their field, come around with meters and read the readings that are coming off of lights. Because when we bought our home in Dubai, the people left behind all the furniture, and the old lamps and lights were really kicking off high levels of electromagnetic frequency. So if you're turning off your Wi-Fi at night, and you got rid of your router in your bedroom, and your cell phone is plugged on the other side of the room, but you're switching on your bedside light, and then you switch it off at the switch of the light, not at the mains, you're still exposing yourself to that pulsing frequency throughout the night, because that electricity runs so long as the main plug is switched on. So 2 things you could do, especially for children that have gadgets. For children, I would remove any and all gadgets from next to the bed. If they have plugged in things next to their bed, you can get someone with a reader to come and see if they're kicking off anything, or just make sure when they sleep that everything is switched off at the wall, because that shuts off that current of electricity coming from the wall, and then there won't be able to be any kind of backlash or pulse or current. So please have a think about that. The bedside lights I got rid of them. I sold them into charity. They were beautiful lights, but I don't need that. I didn't want to kind of I didn't want to kind of switch it off at the wall every single night, because we got a built-in headboard and I had to go behind and So all of that was quite tricky. So just have a think about removing anything that's going to offer junk light and pulse frequency next to your bed. Ariana just wanted to say, do you speak about frequency and energy in your masterclass? Absolutely. So since I became baptized and saw all the things that I was involved in the New Age and how that was, just because the Bible encourages us not to become involved in all of these things doesn't mean that kind of frequency and energy isn't there. The frequency and energy I'm speaking about today is literal frequency and energy. The energy running through this cord that allows for my ring lights to be lit, etc. The energy running through a cord that allows for our bedside lights to be lit. The frequency and energy that I'm talking about, clutter, books on the bedside table, yes. I mean, it's way beyond the scope of this live, but when I cleaned my house out after I had all of my experiences I spoke about in my podcast, there were books and things that I had that have their own attachment of energy, and people might not believe it. I speak about it a little in my podcast, but there's definitely can be spiritual energy attached to certain objects. From a Christian point of view, that's very much a thing, but I don't want to get into that on this live. This is much more practical, and this is really much more just about us removing junk light, removing things from our area, our environment that are completely and utterly unnecessary. So junk light next to your bed, switch everything off at the mains. Try not to have any buzzing or electricity around your heads. You can even just read the T's and C's of your iPhone, charge it far away from your bed, especially if your phone is plugged in. People say, but my phone's on airplane mode. I'm concerned about the airplane mode first and foremost. Airplane mode in itself is not enough. You have to disable your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth, because once your phone is on airplane mode, it will still pulse and search for a Wi-Fi frequency and a Bluetooth frequency to any device it was ever once connected to through that airplane mode, unless you go in and actually physically switch off in settings Wi-Fi and physically switch off in settings Bluetooth. And I know that because Sarah came around for tea and she was like, your phone? I said, my phone's off. And she was like, no, it's not. And we realized it was still connected to the Bluetooth speaker that we'd done homeschool lessons through. So it was looking for that signal actively, and it was still connected to Wi-Fi, which we only have in the working area of the house, where everything downstairs is wired. So everything in my bedroom is hardwired into the main frame. There's no Wi-Fi downstairs, and I couldn't understand. And then I realized unless you disable it inside of settings, you will be quite stuck. So have a think about that. And then really the frequency, the electromagnetic frequency, the pulse radiation, this scientific frequency as energy, as I said, that comes through cords and things that are plugged in from baby monitors is very, 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 very high, especially now that they're Bluetooth, especially now that people are allowing for their children to be on camera through the cell phone and all this kind of stuff. First and foremost, I think from a privacy point of view, that if you're using an internet-based solution to see your child in the camera, that means anyone can hack into that camera. And just from what I've seen, that doesn't sit comfortably with me at all. And by the time we had our second and third son, I ditched all kind of video activity and just checked on the child myself, which is difficult, especially when you live in Fulham and your child's 3 floors up. But my husband and I just became used to listening out and being fully aware. And so have a little think about that. There's nothing wrong with using a wired baby monitor. Literally absolutely nothing. But you do have to understand that if you're using one or many and they're very, very close to your child, that they do kick off frequency, electromagnetic frequency, like a cell phone, like a microwave, etc., etc., etc. The same goes for if you're sitting in bed at night and listening through your AirPods to anything. You know, you can see a number of reels on Instagram where people are putting their 5G readers next to AirPods, and those are kicking off. If you stand in front of a microwave and it's kicking off something like 3 million megahertz and the baseline is 100, AirPods are kicking off something like 1.2 to 1.5 million through your brain from one ear to the other. So something I would seriously avoid. Go back to wired headphones, and just have a think. I mean, I'm so 80-20. I definitely never stand up to someone and be like, you've got to change all this and you've got to do all that. And if you don't do that, not at all. Not at all. There's a myriad of times that I have my phone. I don't charge my phone next to my bed. I actually switch my phone off and put it away, and I charge it in the day, but that's just me. But there's a myriad of things that I do that, I've talked about it before, and to my mastermind members, that they erected a 5G tower across the road from my brand new house right outside my bedroom, which I've been fighting them on. And you just learn. You learn so much when these things come across your path. No one is perfect. No one can live perfectly. And our human body wasn't designed to live perfectly. We are so resilient in ourselves. The idea is that we create more resilience and we become stronger as modern technology gets stronger and stronger. Not so that we run from it, not so that we hide from it, not so that we never have a phone and go and live in a cave, but just that we understand how to keep ourselves safe. All right, then let's get on to the actual bed sheets and pillows. I spoke about it before. Pillows are quite an interesting one. Obviously, there's feather and down and natural stuff like that. But if you do like a memory foam pillow, latex is far, far better, because memory foam does kick off VOCs and can be quite toxic and chemical. And it's never going to be a waste of your time to invest in organic sheets. Why? Because cotton is treated with glyphosate. They need to farm it. Lots of people want Egyptian cotton and this cotton and that cotton, and they want 100% cotton. It's in high demand. People are realizing now that polyester is toxic to the body. It creates friction on the body. And I think even in the Bible, it speaks about, linen and really lovely fabrics on the body and the impact that it has on our skin when we wear things that are lovely. I've actually, in my old age, since I turned 40, I make a point to buy stuff. If I'm buying a set, a short set or something, I'll always look at the material. And if it's 100% polyester, I won't buy it. Some of these expensive outfits, this pure linen dress, £100. And I think, okay, I'm going to invest in that pure linen dress because I want to wear pure linen. And you read, and it's a linen blend with 80% polyester or something. So be conscious of the things that you're wearing. But maybe if you're not that bothered about your clothes, especially for children, I would say organic is the way to go. But you yourself might not be that bothered, or you might be like me. I wear all my mom's clothes from when she was 40, and that vintage kind of feeling. But the three things you might want to seriously worry about is organic sheets and pillow. Why? Because you sleep in that for half of your life, basically. And then organic underwear, really, really important for men and women alike. And then I would always say, where I can, I'll buy organic for newborns, 100%. So those are the three areas where I would say shop organic, certified GOTS, certified organic cotton if you possibly can. Remember, you spend half your life in your shoes or in your bed. So nice shoes, comfortable shoes. I've got barefoot shoes, but actually since we've moved to Dubai, I just don't wear shoes, which is hilarious. And I am kind of talked about around town. And it does take your feet through a weaning period, but I've never felt better being barefoot. And then obviously invest in the linen in your bed. So it just depends. Take it slowly. We had 4 bedrooms in Fulham, and slowly we moved the mattresses over to without spring. My children, when we came to Dubai, the mattresses were left here. I'm not happy with their mattresses at all, but I can't go and buy 3 brand new organic mattresses right now. So slowly, they've got organic sheets, they've got an organic duvet, and they've got their latex pillows with a silk cover. When it comes to a pillowcase cover, I always think that organic, if you can, silk, pure silk is amazing. Why? It promotes non-wrinkling on the skin. It's hypoallergenic. It's easy to wash. Remembering that we shed skin when we sleep. We shed skin when we sleep. We drool when we sleep. All sorts of stuff like that. So you want to be washing your linen. I wash ours with non-toxic laundry soap and big cup of white vinegar as often as I get around to it. 2 weeks at the absolute max. And the pillowcases I sometimes hand wash with Fierce Nature's tallow soap, especially if the boys have drooled on a patch, or I've drooled on a patch, or something like, sometimes I sleep with coconut oil in my hair and there's a little bit of a mark there. I'll use the tallow soap and then I'll put them out in the sun. There's nothing quite as healing as having the fabric that you sleep in and your organic underwear out in the sun. The sun is very antibacterial, and drying clothes in that way was one of my biggest revelations of moving from the UK. Was being able to dry my clothes in the sun. It's never got old. If I need to hang out the laundry, it's like the light of my life. Whereas in England, I think I relied on a tumble dryer and a heated rail. So I'm not saying that anything's going to be wrong with you if you don't dry your clothes in the sun. But by all means, if you can open your door and get the sun to shine on the floor of your room and the carpets of your room and the bed of your room, And that would then bring me, so we're talking about the spring mattresses, the organic sheets, the latex pillow. I spoke a little bit about opening the windows if you possibly can. Please keep the windows in your bedroom open during the day or during the night if you can. As I said, in Dubai, it kind of gets to the point now where it's not possible up at 40, 50 to 45 degrees heat. And the humidity in Dubai, like when I open my curtains in the morning, the outside of my windows are wet. And if I do let fresh air in for 5 minutes, the mirrors in my room will fog up. So it's humid here and it's hot. So we can't have the doors open as much as I would like. But in England, by every stretch of the imagination, you can keep open doors and windows. That also really helps with mold. And it also really helps with antibacterial nature of things. And if you're like me, my house is, I've got 8 pot plants in my house, plus those 10 big trees behind my camera here. And it's really, really good for plants. And plants will clean the air naturally in your bedroom as well, which is fantastic. And if you're unable to keep plants alive and feeling well in your bedroom, then you can be assured that there's something in your bedroom that has to change. I'm going to talk in a little bit about, from the Wellness Times, about the air quality in Dubai and the water quality and in England as well, and how that compares to the rest of the world. And again, the 80-20. You know, you'll get a lot of people here that are like, I won't open the windows because the air quality is so bad. I'm going to explain a little bit about that in a minute. I just want to touch on mold. If anyone sees any black mold, now I live between 2 places that are both prolific for mold. The UK, why? Because there's such a huge amount of damp and clamminess, and Dubai, why? Because of the heat. And what happens is people would often say that you can, in certain months of the year, mold will grow in certain parts of your AC if you don't take care of it well enough. And I did a webinar last week on hydrogen peroxide, and you can go and have a watch of that, where I talk about hydrogen peroxide and its effects in preventing and killing mold. So, you know, once a week, once every 10 days, I'll get up on a ladder and clean the front vents of my AC with hydrogen peroxide because of all the benefits, which I'm not going to go into on this live. You can go and watch my hydrogen peroxide live. But do make sure that if you're using your AC as part of your life, like we do in Dubai, that you're getting it properly cleaned, that they're using hydrogen peroxide if you can. I talked also about how I clean our pool here, and we don't use any chlorine. We only use hydrogen peroxide in our small little plunge pool. Because of the healing benefits for the skin and stuff. But when I told our pool people, when I try to clean the pool myself twice a week and homeschool my children and have my 3 businesses, it did not work. So I had a pool guy come and help me, and he couldn't understand hydrogen peroxide. So again, if you want your ACs cleaned with hydrogen peroxide, some of them use really strong chemicals. You have to explain, and you can reach out to me if you'd like to know how. So the air quality in both the UK and in Dubai, we struggle with air. The reason Dubai struggles with air quality is because of the humidity. And when there is humidity in the air is able to hold onto things that would otherwise blow or lift, if that makes sense. There's dust in the air as well. And the particles of any kind of pollutants in the air stick to that dust. So when we breathe in, the air is much thicker. It can look smoggy and foggy, etc., etc. There is an amazing hack I talk about on my mastermind. It's an app that you can download, and it's free, and it connects to a number of different air purifiers that people have bought that measures the air at any one point. It's highly likely that your neighbor or someone around you has got this air purifier, and you can log in and see what that air purifier is telling you about your area. And then you can look at where you are compared to the rest of the world. And then you need to look at your environmental footprint. You can't just be like, oh, well, the air quality in Dubai is absolutely bad. Yes, it's not ideal at all, but in some places in England, it's not ideal at all. In some places in Africa, it's sensational. And in some places in China, obviously, it's diabolical. But you look at your own environment. So I live right on the ocean, which is one of my lifelong dreams. I've often talked about it. I never take it for granted. So there's negative ions coming off of the ocean. You know, you win some and you lose some. It's kind of like what I talk about in my mastermind. There really is absolutely no one in this world that's living without trauma, without pain, without struggle, without, you know, we all look at each other and go, oh, well, they're so rich. Oh, well, they're so this. Oh, well, they're so that. Nope. No one is living in perfect air with drinking perfect water and having the perfect life. It just doesn't work like that. So we work with what we've got. We work with what we've got, and we do the best that we can in order to bring about resilience in our life, not to bog ourselves further down. God designed our body in the most magnificent way. We are designed to be the highest level of detoxifying machine that you can imagine, through sweating, through going to the toilet. Stuff like that is a natural purging of things that we don't need. So, we don't need to be afraid of anything. I think that education, and it all begins with knowledge. So okay, the air quality where I live is not that great, but these are the things I can do to mitigate it. The water's this, and you just try and do the best that you can with what you've got. The other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to the bedroom is darkness. It's really, really important that you sleep in the darkest room that you possibly can. Why? The funniest thing happened to us a week ago. Where we live, they decided to do like community lighting up of our building, because we live on the edge of the ocean and all the other buildings are beautifully lit. And when you drive past at night, you're like, wow, look at that. And they lit this place up like a Christmas tree. And for 2 nights, my husband and I were extremely poorly affected by false light, synthetic human-made light, from 6 p.m. in the evening to 6 a.m. in the morning. Even through our dark shutter curtains, we could see light. And it really hit home with me how important it is that you follow the circadian rhythms of the way in which the earth was designed. From 6 p.m., blue light in the sky dies off and it becomes an orange-red tone, and we start to soften our eyes to light. So at about 6 p.m., our house is basically dark if we can help it, except if there's natural sunlight as the sun sets. We really do try and keep all the lights on dim or off by all stretches of the imagination. I'm the only one in the family that wears blue light blockers, and I've been wearing them for about 10 years, and it's become a habit for me. So the nights that we watch TV, that's what I'll do. I'll wear my blue light blockers, and the nights that I can't find them or I'm too lazy to go and get them upstairs or downstairs, I can tell you I feel the impact. So have a little look at that. All a blue light blocker will do is allow you to be a modern human and continue to look at your cell phone, watch a little bit of TV. And please, I speak about it on my podcast, be super careful about what you're allowing yourself to watch on TV. It impacts everything. And if anything, allowing television to tell you a vision before you sleep can be hugely detrimental, depending on what you're watching. So please be careful of that. And another one I wanted to touch on is television in the bedroom. Most people do have TVs in the bedroom now. Please, even in the ones in your living room, smart TVs kick off high levels of frequency because they are connected to the internet now, and they're always pulsing and searching for a signal, almost like a cell phone, but a little bit more powerful. And so really one of the first things that we did when we went around our house with this meter measuring 5G and electromagnetic frequency was realize that our Samsung TVs that people before had left here were pulsing a very, very strong pulse, almost as strong as our Wi-Fi router, which I'd moved and put into the wall. I dug out like a hole in the wall behind a piece of artwork where our Wi-Fi router sits to keep it away from being fully exposed in our living area where my children are playing and homeschooling, etc. So what we did with our TVs is really simple and easy. In Dubai, for some reason, it's not that much in England, but next to every plug point, they put a port for an HDMI cable, which means that you can plug, my laptop, for example, goes through this cord all the way down, and then it's piped, tubed onto the wall, and it goes into the router through this cable. So I don't connect to Wi-Fi and I'm on internet all the entire time. We did the same thing with the TV. We disabled the Wi-Fi, we disabled the Bluetooth on the TV through settings, and we hardwired it into the wall, and it stops that constant pulsing, especially if you are someone who has TV in your bedroom. We did that in the living room, which is where we watch TV the most. So that takes me back to darkness. Wear your blue light blockers, keep the lights down low in your home. Our children don't watch TV after 6:30 because that's when they really do need to start slowing down, especially if you struggle with bedtime with children. You know, you can imagine if they're exposed to bright blue lights, I always turn down the brightness on the TV to very, very, very low, below halfway if I possibly can, because that overstimulates them. And then you find that they're afraid or scared of the dark, so they want the lights on. Or we go and get a blue light off of Amazon or something, a night light, and the night light is blue. Blue light is a signal to the brain to be awake and to be alert. So the minute that we open our eyes in the morning, we open our curtains in Dubai and we see blue, and that means wake. So I don't know why companies are selling blue light projectors onto the roof and stuff for children. There's one device I think I've put on my Amazon shop in my bio, which is like a little animal you can choose, like a dinosaur or something, and you can click on all the colors until you get red. And so our night light for the first couple of years of our child's, where they needed light lights, which they don't anymore, was a beautiful warm glowing red light, because that gives that sunset feeling, which stimulates a message to the brain that it's time to sleep. So keep things as dark as you possibly can. If you don't get darkness, you live with street lights outside of your house, or you can't get very, very dark in your room, that's where what's the names come in? Eye masks. As a child, I was always like, I do not understand eye masks. I do not get it. But once you start to sleep with a pure silk eye mask, which Fierce Nature is launching this summer, really we've gone and sourced the best silk that we could possibly find, a really snug fit of eye mask with a thick elastic around the back, and comes in like such a nice bluey color, like this kind of a bluey color. I cannot sleep without that. And I put my tallow skincare on, and if I'm looking after my eyelashes and eyebrows, I put castor oil on for extra growth, and then I slap on my eye mask. And even my children, like if the baby wakes up in the night and he's not feeling well, or if we're rustling around, we're doing renovations at the moment and we have a leak. You would have heard the drilling a little bit earlier if you joined. So we're all sleeping in one big room. You know, the other boys will put on the eye masks if there's rustling and other children are awake at night. And it does make a big impact to be dark at night. And then really the atmosphere in the room, I guess, is really, really important. So just keeping things uncluttered, nice and clean, really, really simple, organic linens and fabrics where you can, low light from the evenings, light cotton bed covers and sheets, keeping clutter away from the children, keeping all devices of any description outside of the children's room, at all costs, keeping your mobile phone both disabled Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and airplane mode, charging away from you if possible, or just get your charger out of your bedroom altogether and charge your phone in the day, charge it while you're eating lunch, charge it at some other time, and switch it off at night. For people that are nervous, I know there's a lot of people that are concerned that they might need to be needed in the evening or the night times, then leave your phone 1 to 2 meters away from you on. And if it rings, you'll surely hear it. So removing that clutter from around your room. I spoke a little bit earlier about what's on your nightstand. You can reach out to me more about that. Spring mattresses, latex, and how important it is for pillows and blankets.